here's the stack that, well, here's a few of them that I have with me. Hey, it's Alexis, and in today's video I'm going to be doing my February and March wrap-up. So the first book that I read in February, I don't have a physical copy of because it's a library book, but I read The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz, and I ended up rating that book a 1.5. It was really weird. This author invited, I believe it was 5 people to her house for this like retreat, and they were there for a month, I believe, and the objective was to start and finish an entire book while they were there, and then a bunch of weird stuff started happening. I thought the book was really weird, so read it at your own risk. I have heard a few people say they liked it, but like a lot of people have not liked it, and I'm one of the people that didn't like it. The next book that I read in February was Kingdom Keepers, Disney After Dark. This is book 1 in the series. I thought that this was a really good book. It is about these kids who are, I think that their job is supposed to be like tour guides at the Magic Kingdom, but it was like holographs or holograms of them. They went to sleep one night and were suddenly like in their dreams, they were like subconsciously in the Magic Kingdom, and they had to like figure out why they were there, and a bunch of stuff started happening, and they had to like try to fight off the bad guys. I believe it was Maleficent in this one. I'm excited to read the rest of the series. It is a middle grade series, but I really enjoyed it. I rated this 3.5 stars. And then after I finished Kingdom Keepers in February, I then read Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I've heard so many great things about this book, and I was really, really excited for it. Then I didn't like it as much as I was hoping I would. There's a lot of unnecessary smut in here, but I will say that I loved Archer for most of the book. There was a couple times I was like, really, why did you do that? But otherwise, I really, really liked Archer. I hated Travis. I'm scared to read his book because I could not stand his character. And Bree, I did not like her either. She got on my nerves more than she didn't. I felt for her for the stuff she went through, like towards the beginning of the book. But otherwise, to me, in my opinion, she was a useless character and I didn't like her. But I ended up rating this a 3.75 stars. Then I read Fairest of All by Serena Valentino, which is book 1 in the Villain series. I started to read this on my Kindle actually, and when I turned on my Kindle and opened this book, it was already finished. So I had read this years ago and just forgot. But this is a villain origin story of the evil queen from Snow White. On here they called her the Wicked Queen. Yeah, it says the tale of the Wicked Queen, but I've always known her as the evil queen, so whatever you want to call her. I ended up giving this a 3.5 stars, and I thought it was really, really good. And then I read The Breakup Tour. I was so excited for this book. So excited. I thought it was going to be so great. And I was so let down. I was disappointed, to say the least. I ended up giving it 2.5 stars. Yeah, and I haven't really thought about it since I finished reading it. I don't know if I would recommend this one, honestly. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on it, you can watch my reading vlog. And then I read The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This book is so good. I am so excited to read the rest of the series. Can't wait. I went into this, like, basically the only thing I knew about this book was that it was Criminal Minds, but teenagers. And I was never into Criminal Minds, but when we were younger, my sister was. So, like, I had seen quite a few episodes, so I kind of had, like, an understanding of what the show was. this was good. Like, I want to read the next one, like, now. Honestly, I am so excited. So, I ended up giving this one a 4.5 stars. So excited for the rest of it. And now the next 6 that I read in February, I don't have a physical copy of. Because I read I believe it's the Improbable Meet Cute is what it's called series. Like, it's a bunch of little novellas, basically, on Amazon Prime. Like, the Prime books or whatever. So the first one that I read was called The Exception to the Rule by Christina Lauren. It was, in my opinion, the best one out of the 6 that I read. And it was about these 2 characters who accidentally meet through an email. One of them thinks that it's the professor that they're talking to, but it turns out it's just someone else from their class. So then every year on the same day, they send another email to each other. And then whenever they decide that they're ready to meet up in person, there's a twist. I thought it was really good, though. It was 100 pages. And so it's like really short. And I ended up giving it 3 stars. And then I read The Worst Wingman Ever by Abby Jimenez. And that is my first time reading any of her writing. And I think she is a fabulous writer. I mean, it was only 60 pages, so I couldn't know for sure if she's for me. But I really did enjoy that one. It was about this hospice nurse, I believe, who was with her grandma. Her grandma's on hospice, so she was there taking care of her. And she meets this guy who also lives in the apartment building. And they just hit it off, and it was really cute. But since it was only 60 pages, I gave it 2.5 stars. And then I read Rosie and the Dreamboat by Sally Thorne. And I really do not think Sally Thorne is the author for me. If this book was more than 44 pages, I would not have finished it. Just like I did not finish The Hating Game. It's weird. That one is really weird. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Then I read Drop, Cover, and Hold On by Jasmine Guillory. And that book also, that novella is 40 pages, so don't really consider it a book. But that one was also weird. It was about this person who owns a bakery, and the main girl, goes to the bakery a lot, and the bakery owner is always rude to her. And she thinks that he hates her, and then it turns out that he's been in love with her the whole time. And then their relationship just skyrockets. I don't know, it was weird. Then I read With Any Luck by Ashley Poston. And this was my first book by her too, even though it was a novella. And I wish that this one was an actual book and not just a novella. She could have done so much more for this. It was such a cool concept. There's this girl and this guy who were part of their friend's wedding party. And she was the best man and he was the maid of honor. And then the bride and groom go missing on their wedding day and they have to try to find them. She could have turned that into a full book and I would have ate the crap out of it. I loved that one. I gave it 3 stars. And then the last one of the series is called Royal Valentine by Saria Wilson. I couldn't get into this story. This one was 71 pages. I don't know what it was. I just couldn't get into it. And there was a lot of spelling and grammar mistakes in it. And I think that was part of it. But I just couldn't get into that one. And then we're into my March reads. In March, the first book I read was Bride by Allie Hazelwood. Again, I read this in my reading vlog. I was so excited for this. I was pumped. Allie Hazelwood's one of my favorite authors, and I was so excited for this one. And it was such a letdown. I hated every minute of reading this book. I still love Allie Hazelwood's writing, but if she writes another paranormal romance, I don't think I'm going to read it. I did end up giving this one a 3 stars because there was a few points in it where it did keep my interest for a chapter or 2. But other than that, I absolutely hated this. So, next I read Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. And this was also in that video. And I ended up giving this one a 4 stars. This was my highest rated book in that whole video. And I really did enjoy this one. It's a Tessa Bailey book, so there's like a little bit more smut than there needs to be. But otherwise, I thought that the story was really, really good. It's about Wells Whitaker, who is a golf player. And Josephine is his biggest fan. And then something happens, and she then becomes the caddy for him. And I just think it's really good. I recommend this one. And there is book 2 of that series coming out in the summer, I believe. I think it's July. Then I listened to the audiobook of I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. And I have actually read that book when it first came out. And then I listened to the audiobook again this year. And that book still, I guess, hit me really hard. It made me, I don't know, made me like think differently, I guess, about child actors and all that. It's not everything you think it is. I kind of want to say it's worse. Like, you might think it's all great and everything, but it's really not. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that you don't know about. And that book, like, brings a lot of it to life. And I highly recommend it. And next, I listened to the audiobook of Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Listen to the audiobook of this instead of reading it. It's all written in, like, an interview type style. Because it's basically doing an interview of the band. But listen to the audiobook because they have a different character for every, or a different voice for like every character. And it's just so helpful. And it was just really cool to listen to it instead of read it. I ended up giving this one a 4 stars. And then I read The Pregnancy Project by Gabby Rodriguez. And I read this one when I was in high school. It was either 8th grade or freshman year or something like that. I read this book and watched the movie about it. This is her memoir about her senior project that she did. I recommend reading this one. It's a really cool concept that she had for her senior project. I didn't rate it since it's a memoir, but I do recommend that one as well. And then I read Set on You by Amy Leah. I read X's and O's by her last year, but then realized that it was part of the Influencer series, so I read Set on You, which is the first one. I don't know what it is about these books, but I just don't enjoy them as much as I hoped that I would. In my opinion, the author writes about influencers. Like, Set on You was a fitness influencer, and X's and O's was a book talker or booktuber. And no, she's a bookstagrammer. My bad. And then the third one that came out this year, The Catch, I think she's a fashion influencer. And I just feel like the author tries a little bit too hard to make these characters relatable. And it always takes me out of a book when they reference TikTok so much. And she references like TikTok and Instagram and all that a whole lot in these books. And it's just hard for me to fully immerse myself in it and enjoy it. But I did end up giving that one a 3 stars. The next book I read was The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. Please read this book. Please read it. It is very, very good. It is about A.J. Fikry, who his wife passed away a couple years prior to this book starting. And he owns a bookstore. There's a mysterious package delivered to the bookstore, and his whole life changes after that. And there are some plot twists in here that you would not expect to have happen, but I highly recommend this one. I gave this a 4.5 stars. And then I read Check-in Mate by Allie Hazelwood. I was so nervous to read this book because I had not heard the best reviews about it, but I absolutely loved it. I was laughing a lot. There were parts in here. Some of the things that some of the characters said were really weird, but otherwise, I thought this was great. I just don't think that it was a YA book. There was some scenes in here that were adult and not YA. But Otherwise, I do really like this book by Allie Hazelwood. I gave this one a 4 stars. And then I read Love Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood. I didn't like this one that much. I think that both of the characters, in my opinion, were a little bit immature. There was a lot of miscommunication that could have totally been fixed if they were more mature. This one just wasn't my favorite, but I did like the cameos toward the end of the characters from the Love Hypothesis. That was really cool. But I ended up giving this one a 3.5 stars. And then I read Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I know that this book was like everybody's favorite, so I was really nervous to start this one. And I really liked it at the beginning, and then you find out the reason that they stopped talking. That's where the book lost me. And then something even worse happened after they stopped talking. And that just was like, are you kidding? Yeah, I did not like the last 100 or so pages of this book. Otherwise, I thought it was great until then. So, yeah. I ended up giving this one 3.25 stars. And then I read The Beast Within by Serena Valentino, which is book 2 of the Villain series. So this is the origin story of Beast from Beauty and the Beast. And I also started this one a few years ago, but never finished it. And I don't know why, but I thought that this one was pretty good. In this book, though, it said that Beast and Gaston were like best friends. So I'm excited to read the new book that comes out this year, which is Gaston's story, to see if like that stands true. I guess if it's true in his story as well. But yeah, I ended up giving this one 3 stars. And then I read My Epic Spring Breakup by Kristen Rockaway. This was a really cute book, but I just don't think that I was the intended audience for it. It is YA. It's about this high school senior, I believe, enjoying her spring break. In a way, she's testing the waters for when she goes off to college, and she's trying to not be such a stick in the mud. She's trying to show her friends and her family that she can have fun and that it's not just about grades and not just about school. I thought it was cute, but I just didn't like it as much as I feel like someone else might. But I ended up giving it 3 stars. Then I read Happily Ever After by Melissa John. And first of all, isn't this cover just so beautiful? I love it. This is the second one in her series. I don't know if the series has a name. I don't really know what the name is. But the miscommunication trope in this book, oh my god. Callie, which is the main character, I don't know what's wrong with her, but like, she made me not like this book as much as I wanted to. She was not this bad in the first book, but this book, oh my gosh. I do recommend this series. Just be prepared for this miscommunication trope. I wish I would have known it was in there, because I didn't, and it made me mad. But I ended up giving this a 3 stars. And then the last book that I read in March was Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. This is my second time reading this. I read this as a sophomore in high school, I believe. It was my summer reading book. It made me bawl my eyes out when I was in high school and I read this book. This time I didn't cry, but I got close to it. This is a memoir, and it's about Mitch talking about his professor Morrie, and basically Morrie giving him life lessons before he passes. And I highly recommend everyone read this at least once in their life. I do. I really highly recommend this one. Okay, so that was 26 books that I read between February and March. Here's the stacked deck. Well, here's a few of them that I have with me. Anyway, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day.